Chapter 7. Every Chihuahua in American lines up to take a bite out of Byron. I was sitting at the kitchen table doing my homework and watching Mama make dinner while Byron came through the back door. He was surprised when we were there because as soon as he saw us, he turned around and tried to walk right back out. Both me and Mama smelled a rat. Byron, Mama said, what have I told you about wearing that hat in the house? Oh, yeah. Uh, I was just going right back. He pushed the screen door open again. Wait a minute. Byron trapped in the doorway with his right foot in and his left foot out. Come here. Mama put the knife down that she'd been peeling potatoes with and wiped her hands on the dish towel. Byron's inside foot joined his outside foot, one end trying to get away. I'll be back in a minute. They're waiting for me down at Byron Watson. If you take off that hat and you get over here right this minute. It was here instead of here. Uh-oh. Byron started walking towards Mama in a slow motion, sliding his feet on the linoleum. He pulled off the hat and stood there looking down. His shoes were all of a sudden real interesting. Byron's head was covered with a blue and white handkerchief. Mama sucked in a ton of air. What have you done? We all knew, though. She took one step back, leaned against the counter, like it wasn't there, like she'd fallen down. Oh my God, your father's going to kill you. He don't have no cause, no. You've gone and done it, haven't you? Byron kept his head down. Haven't you? Mama yelled. Yes, Byron yelled back. Mama reached out and snatched the handkerchief off by his head. Me and Mom both went, oh! Byron had gotten a conk, a process, a do, a butter, a ton of trouble. His hair was reddish brown, straight, stiff, slick looking, parts of it stuck straight up like a porcupine stickers. But Mama hadn't been too gentle when she pulled off the handkerchief. He smoothed his hair in one place. Well, Mama said, that's it. You are now at your daddy's mercy. You've known all along how we feel about putting those chemicals in your hair to straighten it, but you decided you are a grown man and you went and did it anyway. Mama was real hot, but she surprised me. She just shook her head and went back to peeling potatoes. Byron stood there looking at his feet, and I kept pretending I was doing my homework. Finally, Mama slammed her knife down and turned around to look at By again. Byron stood perfectly still while Mama walked around him a couple of times, taking a better look at his hair. Then they looked like the Indians circling the wagons again, but this time it was Byron had to be the white people. Finally, Mama stopped and said, "But before your father gets to you, let me ask you something. What do you think? What do you think now that you've gone and done it? Does it make you look any better? Is this straight?" Mama started flicked some of Byron's hair back up porcupine style. Is this straight mess more attractive than your own hair? Did those chemicals give you better looking hair than me and your daddy and God gave you? It was strange. A little laugh started to get into Mama's voice. What do you think? Well, bozo, she said, flicking a piece of By's hair out over his left ear, and then another piece, and then another one. Maybe you were planning to join the circus, 'cause you sure do look like an honest-to-God clown now. Mama was right, with big clumps of hair sticking out on one side over his ears, and he really did look like Bozo. I broke out laughing, but Byron shot me a dirty real fat look, and I stopped and looked down at my math book, and I hated it when things like that happened, and my head automatically went down by itself. Why on earth would you do this, Byron? I wanted a Mexican style hair. I don't see nothing wrong with it. When I saw Mama just looking sad and me looking like I wanted to crack up again, Byron got kind of mad and said, I think it's cool. Well, Daddy Cool, you enjoy your Mexican hair while you can. 'Cause I'm sure when your daddy gets through with you, you won't be enjoying that too much of anything. And cool is one thing you won't be feeling. You just slide your cool self right up those stairs into your bedroom and you wait for Daddy-O. Byron clomped up the stairs. I told Jolie about what happened as soon as our next door neighbor, Mrs. Davison, brought her home from Sunday school. Me and Joey went up to see Byron. Byron was on the top bunk with his feet dangling over one side and his hands covering his face. I love times like this. Byron was about to really get it and couldn't pay me back for teasing him. Oh, I started in on him as soon as me and Joey got into the room. Death row prisoner number 541. You have a visitor. Please make this a short visit, ma'am. The priest will be here any minute to give the prisoner his last meal and his last cigarette. Oops, I forgot. No cigarettes for you. 541. You've been banned from ever looking at matches, remember? Byron was feeling sad. He didn't say anything to me. He didn't even give me a dirty look. That made me a lot braver. When she saw his hair, Joetta's eyes got real big and her voice got real choky. Byron Watson? What were you thinking about? Look at your head. Daddy's gonna kill you. Come on down from there. Let's go to the bathroom and wash that stuff out of your hair before Daddy gets here. Byron raised his slick down head from his hands. Go away, Joey. Come on, Byron. We gotta wash your hair till that junk comes out. Hurry! Joetta pulled on Byron's dangling leg. Stop, Joey, he finally said. This don't wash out. It's got to grow out. You mean you have to keep that in there like that until it comes back to normal? Yeah, Byron said, kind of smiling. They do it. They can't do nothing. Nothing till it grows back. Oh no, Daddy's going to tear you up. I said, That's right, ma'am. 541 is just waiting for the executioner to get home. Would you like to stick around and write down his last words? Joey turned and snapped. Why is it so funny to you, Kenny? Her eyes looked real mean. Who knows what Daddy's going to do to him? Byron's hands came back over his face. I said to Joey, Why are you yelling at me? It wasn't me who went and got a butter, and no one forced him to do it either. It makes me sick, the way she always protecting Byron. She turned back to him. Who did this to you, By? She didn't have to ask. There was only one other 14-year-old in the neighborhood who had a conch. I answered for him. It was Buphead. Why'd you let him, By? I told you to go away, Joey. No, Byron. Why'd you let him do it? 'Cause I wanted to, that's why. But didn't you know Mommy and Daddy would find out? Shoot. You can't think I care about them what those squares say. I said, and there you have it, ma'am. The reason 541 must die. He won't confess to his guilt. Byron looked at me for the first time and I started teasing me towards the door. He said, You think I don't know what you're doing, punk? You think I don't know you're leaving I don't know you're loving all this mess? But I've been expecting this. This is just like that show I seen about wolves. They said the top dog is always getting challenged by jive little wolves. They said the top dog wolf can't show no weakness at all. That if he do, he gets hurt or something. If he steps on a broke bottle and starts limping or something, all those little jive wolves in the park start trying to overthrow him. That's what's happening right now. You think I'm hurt, and you think every other punk chihuahua in America is climbing out of the woodwork trying to get a bite out of me. Let me tell you something, Win. Oh, we heard a squeal of the car brakes outside. Joey and I ran to the bedroom window to look out into the street. The brown bomber had just parked in front of the house. Joey started blubbering. Byron's legs dingled faster and faster. Dad got out of the brown bomber. I pretended I was holding a bugle. It started playing The Day Is Done. Do, 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 do. The song they play at funerals. Byron, why won't you behave? Why won't you think about what's going to happen when you do something wrong? Why do you always do stuff that gets people mad at you? Joey asked. Why don't you make a break for it, 541? I asked. We listened to the noises of Dad coming from work. Clump, clump of his boots coming off and being dropped in the closet by the front door, and whoosh his chair made when he sat at it, and Dad saying, "Phew! Sure is good to be home." The second whoosh was a chair when Mama sat on his lap, and the sounds of kisses and giggles and laughs when the words we waited for from Dad. So, what's new on the home front, Mrs. Watson? Oh, not much. There's a surprise for you for one of your little darlings has for you, though. Good or bad? Well, I guess it depends on your point of view. Let me guess. Which one of the crumb crushers is going to surprise Big Daddy today? Oh, your first one. Oh, Lord. What'd he do? How serious is it this time? Can't be too bad. You seem pretty calm. Well, let's just say I'm numb. That bad? It depends on if you're happy with your son the way he was. This might be pretty bad. However, if you've always wanted a child from south of the border, you might be happy with this new young Mr. Watson. Okay, what's up? Oh, let me put it this way. You remember the line Big Daddy used on every girl in Central High School? Can't say I do. Well, it goes something like this. I can show you better than I can tell you. Ring a bell? Ring any bells? Oh yeah, that does sound kind of familiar. Well, now's a good time as any. Show me. All right. You asked for it. Byron, dear, could you please come down here for a minute? Mama didn't even have to raise her voice. She knew we'd been listening to everything they were saying. Byron took a deep breath, jumped off the top bunk, and started down the stairs, and I followed right behind him, pretending I was a reporter. I shoved an imaginary microphone in his face. Any famous last words, 541? Anything to say to the little chihuahuas before they start coming out of the woodwork? Do you think the governor might call before they pull the switch? Are you going to come clean and tell what led you down this road of crime? But I figured he didn't have anything to lose, so when we got halfway down the stairs, he popped me square in the ear hard. Getting hit when you're not expecting it really can shake you up. My legs started wobbling like my knees were made of jello. My eyes started leaking water. My nose started watering. I tried to go tell on by, but all I could do was sit on the next step to last step and hold my ear as tears jumped out of my eyes. My throat wouldn't quit jerking up and down and making weird noises. Joey sat on the step next to me with tears jumping out of her eyes too. When Byron walked into the living room, Mama said, "Mr. Watson, I'd like to introduce you to your long lost son from Mexico City, Senor Byrosito Watson." Joey made me quit sobbing so we could see what Dad was going to do. But for the longest time, there was no sounds from the living room. We looked at each other. Finally, the chair whooshed as Mama got off the Dad's lap, and then whooshed again as Dad stood up. After a long time, Dad said, uh, uh, uh. Then, "Well, son, what can I say? It's pretty much permanent, isn't it?" Dad's voice was real calm, and that was even scarier than if he'd been yelling. "Yes, Dad." "Yes, Dad. So there's really nothing I can do, is there?" "I don't think so, Dad." "You don't think so, Dad? Well, judging from the condition of your hair, I wouldn't say thinking is one of your strong suits, is it?" Byron mumbling something. Oh, wow, he must have really felt like he didn't have anything to lose because Mama and Dad just didn't tolerate mumbling. Dad's voice shifted. "Excuse me?" I said, "No, Dad." No, Dad." Joey started boohooing again because whenever Dad repeated everything you said like this, some real big trouble was about to follow. Maybe there is something that can be done about this after all. Suddenly, Dad and Byron were in the doorway leading upstairs. Dad looked surprised to see me and Joey sitting there, and he smiled at us. "Hi, Kenneth. Hi, Pumpkin. Why are you two crying?" I could just point to my ear, but Joey said, "Oh, Daddy, please, what are you going to do?" "Oh, don't worry, Joe. Everything's okay. You just wait down here." Dad and Byron disappeared into the bathroom and locked the door behind them. Dad hadn't told me to wait downstairs, so I ran upstairs to the bathroom to go peek through the keyhole. Someone had stuffed toilet paper in the hole, though, so I had to drop to the floor and peek under the floor to see what was going on. From the from the way Dad and Bi's feet were standing, I could tell that Bi was sitting on the toilet and Dad was standing at the sink. Dad was rumbling around the medicine cabinet, and I could hear Bi sniff a couple of times. Then Dad started whistling a stupid song, "Straighten up and fly right." Dad's feet took 2 steps from the sink to the toilet. Bi said, "Aw, man!" And I heard a chink sound like the floor around their feet started covered with stuff, like reddish brown Mexican hair stuff. Dad kept whistling and cutting. Choo chica. Oh, man. Hold your head still. I'd hate to take one of these ears off by mistake. Dad went on whistling. Choo chica. Ah, man. Kenneth, what are you doing? Mama called from downstairs. I ran from the door halfway down the steps before I said, "Nothing, Mama." "Come on down here and do nothing." "Yes, Mama." "What's your father doing?" "He's whistling straight up and fly right, and he's cutting all of Byron's hair off." Mama laughed. Joey sat next to her, looking worried. The three of us got on the couch for about half an hour before we heard Bi scream as loud as he could. Dad hollered down to us, "Just a little aftershave." We heard the bathroom door open. Dad came down the steps first. "Mrs. Watson," he said, "I'd like to introduce you to your long lost son from Siam, His Royal Highness Yul Watson." Byron stepped into the living room with a real mean scowl on his face. Not only had Dad cut off all of Byron's hair, he'd also shaved his head. By's head was so shiny it looked like it was wet. "And, Mrs. Watson," Dad said, "you can't possibly deny this is your child. You can tell this boy has got your ton of sans blood from him. Look at those ears. Poor Byron. If he'd known how far his ears stuck out on the side, I bet he never would have gotten that butter." Mama put her hand over her mouth and said, "Lord, don't blame me. That on my side of the family. Someone switched this child at the hospital." Joey laughed because she was relieved Byron's hadn't been executed. Mama and Dad laughed at Byron's ears, but none of them laughed as hard as me. "Go get the bathroom dustpan and sweep that garbage into the bathroom up. Then go stay in your room. And this is it. Bye. You're old enough now. You've been told enough. This time something's going to be done. Now beat it." Dad's forehead was all wrinkled when he said this. They sent me and Joey outside so they could have one of those adults only talks, and me and Joey drifted back into the house after what seemed enough time for them to talk. Dad was on the telephone, and he was holding the receiver away from his ear and making a funny face. I could hear someone yelling from the phone. Dad whispered to Mama, "Why does she think she's got to yell into the phone when it's a long distance phone call?" Mama clapped his arm and whispered back, "You leave my mama alone." They were talking to Grandma Sands, all the way from Alabama. Me and Joey crowded up next to them on the couch and heard Grandma Sands yell, "This is costing y'all a fortune. Daniel, let me talk to my baby again." Dad handed the phone back to Mama, then dug his finger around his ear like he was going to deaf. Mama gave Dad a dirty look and said, "Okay, Mama, we'll be getting back with you. We love you. Bye-bye," she said in the Southern style. And that was that. We thought that was the end of Byron's latest adventure until a week later when Dad brought home a TT AB 700 in the brown bomber.